International recognition of Palestine. As of September 2025, the State of Palestine is recognized as a sovereign state by 157 of the 193 member states of the United Nations (UN), representing just over 80% of all UN members. Since November 2012, Palestine has held the status of a non-member observer state within the UN General Assembly. This limited designation is primarily a result of the United States, a permanent member of the UN Security Council with veto power, consistently blocking Palestine's bid for full UN membership. In contrast, the other 4 permanent members of the Security Council, China, France, Russia, and the United Kingdom, formally recognized the State of Palestine. The State of Palestine was officially proclaimed by the Palestine Liberation Organization (PLO) on November 15, 1988, asserting sovereignty over the internationally recognized Palestinian territories, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. By the end of 1988, this declaration had been recognized by 78 countries. Efforts to resolve the long-standing Israeli-Palestinian conflict led to the signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993 and 1995 between Israel and the PLO, establishing the Palestinian Authority, PA, as an interim self-governing body in Gaza and in approximately 40% of the West Bank. Progress toward a negotiated solution slowed considerably during Benjamin Netanyahu's periods as Prime Minister of Israel, 1996 to 1999, 2009 to 2021, 2022 present, during which he opposed Palestinian statehood outside of frameworks controlled by Israel. At times, this stance contributed to more radical responses among segments of the Palestinian population. In 2011, Palestine was admitted as a full member of UNESCO. The following year, it was granted observer state status at the UN General Assembly, after which the Palestinian Authority began using the name State of Palestine for all official purposes. In December 2014, the International Criminal Court also recognized Palestine as a state. The majority of the international community supports a two-state solution to the conflict. 14 of the 19 G20 member states, Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, India, Indonesia, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, and the United Kingdom, along with permanent invitee Spain, formally recognized the State of Palestine, with 4 of these recognitions occurring in September 2025. The remaining 5 G20 states, Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea, and the United States, do not currently recognize Palestine. However, both Italy and Japan have indicated willingness to do so, with Italy's position contingent upon Hamas meeting specific conditions: Palestine and the United Nations, and the foreign relations of Palestine. On November 22, 1974, United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3236 affirmed the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, national independence, and sovereignty in Palestine. The resolution also recognized the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people and granted it observer status at the United Nations. The State of Palestine was formally declared by the PLO on November 15, 1988, asserting sovereignty over the internationally recognized Palestinian territories, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. Following this declaration, the UN adopted the designation Palestine for the PLO in acknowledgement of the Palestinian Proclamation of Independence. Shortly after the 1988 declaration, the State of Palestine was recognized by numerous developing countries across Africa and Asia, as well as by several communist and non-aligned states. At the time, the United States employed the Foreign Assistance Act and other measures to deter states and international organizations from extending recognition to Palestine. While these measures were effective in several instances, the Arab League and the Organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC, promptly issued statements recognizing and supporting Palestine, which was subsequently accepted as a member state in both organizations. By the end of 1988, 78 countries had formally recognized the State of Palestine. In February 1989, during a session of the UN Security Council, the PLO representative noted that 94 states had recognized the newly declared Palestinian state. The PLO then sought membership as a state in multiple UN-affiliated agencies. However, these efforts were met with U.S. threats to withdraw financial support from any organization that admitted Palestine. For instance, in April 1989, the PLO applied for state membership in the World Health Organization, but the application stalled after the U.S. warned that funding would be withdrawn if Palestine were admitted. In May, a group of OIC member states submitted an application on Palestine's behalf to UNESCO, listing a total of 91 states that had recognized the Palestinian state. In June 1989, the PLO submitted letters of accession to the 1949 Geneva Conventions to the government of Switzerland. As the depositary state, Switzerland concluded that, given ongoing divisions within the international community over Palestinian statehood, it was not in a position to determine whether the submission constituted a valid instrument of accession. The Swiss government stated, "Due to the uncertainty within the international community as to the existence or non-existence of a state of Palestine, and as long as the issue has not been settled in an appropriate framework, the Swiss government, in its capacity as depositary of the Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, is not in a position to decide whether this communication can be considered as an instrument of accession in the sense of the relevant provisions of the conventions and their additional protocols." As a result, in November 1989, the Arab League proposed a resolution in the UN General Assembly to formally recognize the PLO as the government of an independent Palestinian state. The draft resolution was later withdrawn after the United States again threatened to suspend financial contributions to the UN should the vote proceed. Arab states agreed not to advance the resolution but insisted that the United States pledge not to repeat such threats. Many early statements of recognition of the State of Palestine were ambiguously worded. Conversely, hesitation by some states did not necessarily indicate non-recognition of Palestine. This ambiguity contributed to significant discrepancies in reported figures concerning the number of countries recognizing the 1988 declaration. Past reports frequently cited conflicting totals, with estimates reaching as high as 130 states. In July 2011, in an interview with Haaretz, Palestinian ambassador to the UN Riyad Mansour stated that 122 countries had extended formal recognition. Later that month, the PLO published a document advocating international recognition of the State of Palestine and listing these 122 states. By the end of September 2011, Mansour reported that the figure had risen to 139. Following the outbreak of the Gaza War, several Western and Caribbean countries began formally recognizing Palestine. In May 2024, Ireland, Norway, and Spain announced coordinated recognition of Palestinian statehood. In a subsequent diplomatic initiative led by France, additional Western states recognized Palestine shortly before the general debate of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in September 2025. This included the first recognitions by G7 states, Canada, France, and the United Kingdom, and was described as a historic diplomatic shift. On September 22, one day before the General Assembly debate commenced, France and Saudi Arabia co-hosted a special summit focused on advancing a two-state solution. Israeli position. From the conclusion of the Six-Day War until the signing of the Oslo Accords, no Israeli government advanced a proposal for the creation of a Palestinian state. During Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's first term, 1996 to 1999, he accused his two predecessors of having moved closer to what he described as the danger of a Palestinian state, declaring that his primary policy objective was to ensure that the Palestinian Authority, PA, would not develop beyond a form of limited autonomy. In June 2003, Prime Minister Ariel Sharon became the first Israeli leader to publicly acknowledge the possibility of a Palestinian state. Sharon discussed the possibility of the establishment of a Palestinian state with temporary borders, if conditions permit, emphasizing that any interim state would be completely demilitarized, and stating that Palestinian refugees would not be permitted to enter Israeli territory. The government of Prime Minister Ehud Olmert reiterated this approach. Upon returning to office in 2009, Netanyahu again argued that a Palestinian state posed a strategic threat to Israel. The government's stance shifted, however, under pressure from the Obama administration. On June 14, 2009, Netanyahu delivered a speech in which he voiced support, for the first time, for the concept of a demilitarized Palestinian state with reduced territorial sovereignty. This position prompted criticism due to the absence of clarity regarding which territories Israel might ultimately cede. In February 2023, Netanyahu further stated, "I'm certainly willing to have them have all the powers that they need to govern themselves, but none of the powers that can threaten us, and this means that Israel should have the overriding security responsibility." In 2025, amid the ongoing Gaza war and a wave of international recognition for Palestine, Netanyahu reversed course, declaring in a public address that a Palestinian state will not be established. Israel continues to reject a return to the 1967 borders, which Israeli military strategists have deemed strategically indefensible. It also opposes Palestinian efforts to pursue statehood recognition through the UN General Assembly, arguing that such unilateral actions violate the Oslo Accords, in which both parties agreed not to undertake unilateral measures. Timeline of Palestine in the United Nations. On October 14, 1974, the United Nations General Assembly recognized the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, as the representative of the Palestinian people and granted it the right to participate in plenary deliberations concerning the question of Palestine. On November 22, 1974, the General Assembly conferred non-state observer status upon the PLO, enabling it to participate in all assembly sessions as well as in a range of other UN forums. On December 15, 1988, General Assembly Resolution 43-177 acknowledged the Palestinian Declaration of Independence issued in November 1988 and officially replaced the designation Palestine Liberation Organization with Palestine throughout the UN system. On September 23, 2011, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas submitted an application for full UN membership for the State of Palestine. Subsequently, on November 29, 2012, General Assembly Resolution 6719 granted Palestine the status of a non-member observer state. Shortly thereafter, on December 17, 2012, UN Chief of Protocol Yeokiel Yoon determined that the constitutional name, State of Palestine, would henceforth be used by the Secretariat in all official UN documentation. On May 10, 2024, General Assembly Resolution ES October 23 conferred additional rights upon the State of Palestine at the United Nations, including the ability to be seated among member states, introduce proposals and agenda items, and participate in committees, though without the right to vote. From 28 to July 30, 2025, a multilateral conference was convened at UN headquarters in New York at the initiative of the French and Saudi governments, calling for an end to the war in Gaza and the establishment of a Palestinian state. The conference subsequently reconvened on September 22. Application for UN membership. Main article, Palestine 194. Following a 2-year deadlock in negotiations with Israel, the Palestinian Authority, PA, launched a diplomatic initiative to secure international recognition of the State of Palestine based on the pre-Six-Day War borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. This effort, beginning in late 2009, gained substantial global attention in September 2011, when President Mahmoud Abbas formally submitted an application for Palestine's admission as a UN member state. Such admission would have constituted collective recognition of Palestinian statehood and enabled the Palestinian government to pursue legal claims against other states before international courts. For a state to gain full membership in the General Assembly, its application must be supported by 2/3 of the UN member states, preceded by a positive recommendation from the Security Council. This recommendation requires the absence of a veto from any of the Council's 5 permanent members. Anticipating a U.S. veto, Palestinian officials indicated that they might instead seek an enhanced, non-member state status, achievable by a simple majority vote in the General Assembly, which would still grant the political recognition they sought. The campaign, known as Palestine 194, received formal backing from the Arab League in May 2011 and was officially endorsed by the PLO on 26 June. Israel condemned the initiative as a unilateral action, whereas Palestinian leadership argued that it was a necessary step to break the diplomatic stalemate. Several countries, including Germany and Canada, also opposed the move and urged a swift return to negotiations. Others, such as Norway and Russia, expressed support, as did UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, who stated, UN members are entitled whether to vote for or against the Palestinian statehood recognition at the UN. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil formally recognized the State of Palestine in December 2010. Diplomatic momentum accelerated in early 2011 after a series of South American endorsements. High-level Palestinian delegations, led by Yasser Abed Rabo, Riyad al-Maliki, Saeb Erekat, Nabil Shaath, and Riyad Mansour, conducted extensive diplomatic visits. Palestinian ambassadors, with support from ambassadors of other Arab states, worked to secure backing from host governments. Ahead of the UN vote, Russia, China, and Spain publicly pledged their support for the Palestinian effort, as did regional and international organizations such as the African Union and the Non-Aligned Movement. Israel undertook diplomatic measures to counter the initiative, while Germany, Italy, Canada, and the United States publicly announced their opposition. Israeli and U.S. diplomats lobbied numerous countries to oppose or abstain from the vote. Yet, due to the automatic majority traditionally held by the Palestinians in the General Assembly, the Netanyahu government did not expect to prevent the resolution's passage if it proceeded. In August, Haaretz quoted Israeli UN Ambassador Ron Prosor saying Israel would be unable to block a General Assembly resolution by September, adding that the best possible outcome would be persuading a number of states to abstain or be absent during the vote. Israel instead sought to secure what it termed a moral majority of major democratic states in opposition, aiming to reduce the political impact of the anticipated Palestinian victory. The position of the European Union was seen as particularly significant, though it remained undecided. EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton stated that the bloc's stance would likely depend on the wording of the resolution. At the end of August, Israeli Defense Minister Ehud Barak emphasized the need for all parties to develop a text that encouraged a rapid return to negotiations without imposing preconditions. Efforts by the U.S. and Israel also focused heavily on persuading Palestinian leaders to abandon the initiative and return to the negotiating table. In the United States, Congress passed a resolution condemning the Palestinian bid and urging the Obama administration to veto any recognition granted outside a negotiated agreement. A similar measure passed in the Senate, which additionally threatened to withdraw U.S. aid to the West Bank. Another bill introduced in late August proposed cutting U.S. funding to any UN agency that supported Palestinian membership. Several senior U.S. officials, including UN Ambassador Susan Rice and Consul General in Jerusalem Daniel Rubinstein, issued comparable warnings. Around the same time, Israel's Ministry of Finance was reported to be withholding monthly tax revenue transfers to the Palestinian National Authority. Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman warned that unilateral Palestinian action would lead Israel to consider the Oslo Accords void and sever ties with the PA. President Dmitry Medvedev of Russia reaffirmed Russian support for the State of Palestine in January 2011. On July 11, 2011, the quartet convened to discuss a potential return to negotiations, though the meeting yielded no results. President Abbas stated that he would suspend the UN bid and resume negotiations if Israel agreed to the 1967 borders and halted settlement expansion in the West Bank. Meanwhile, support for the Palestinian campaign grew among grassroots activists. Abbas launched an online petition urging UN members to endorse the admission of Palestine, reportedly garnering 500,000 signatures within the first 4 days. One Voice Palestine initiated a domestic mobilization effort with local media partners to encourage widespread public involvement. International advocacy campaigns were launched in several countries to encourage governments to vote in favor of the resolution. On September 7, Palestinian activists operating under the banner Palestine, State Number 194, organized a demonstration outside the UN office in Ramallah. During the event, they submitted a letter addressed to Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, requesting that he exert all possible efforts toward the achievement of the Palestinian people's just demands. The following day, Ban told reporters, "I support the statehood of Palestinians, an independent, sovereign state of Palestine. It has been long overdue. while also clarifying that recognition of statehood was a decision reserved for UN member states. Other UN bodies had previously indicated their readiness to support Palestinian statehood. In April 2011, the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process issued a report describing aspects of the PA's governance as sufficient for an independent state. This assessment echoed a similar evaluation by the International Monetary Fund 1 week earlier. A World Bank report released in September 2010 likewise concluded that the PA was well-positioned to establish a state in the near future, though it noted that without significant private sector growth, a Palestinian state would remain dependent on foreign aid. Bold indicates permanent members of the UN Security Council, UNSC. P. Malta served as president of the UN Security Council at the time of the vote. D. Algeria submitted the draft resolution under consideration. V. Acting as a permanent UNSC member, the United States exercised its veto power, preventing the Security Council from adopting the proposal. Non-member observer state status. Further information, United Nations General Assembly Resolution 6719. UN observer state status voting results. In favor, against, abstentions, absent, non-members. In September 2012, Palestine pursued an upgrade in its status from observer entity to non-member observer state. On November 27, it was announced that the request had been made officially and would be presented for a vote in the General Assembly on November 29, where it was widely expected to receive majority support. In addition to conferring non-member observer state status on Palestine, the draft resolution expressed the hope that the Security Council would act favorably on Palestine's September 23, 2011 application for full UN membership, endorsed a two-state solution based on pre-1967 borders, and emphasized the urgent need for an immediate resumption of negotiations between the two parties. On November 29, 2012, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 6719 by a vote of 138 to 9, with 41 abstentions, upgrading Palestine to the status of non-member observer state in the United Nations. This new status placed Palestine on the same diplomatic footing as the Holy See. The Independent described the decision as de facto recognition of the sovereign state of Palestine. Voting no were Israel, Canada, the Czech Republic, the Marshall Islands, the Federated States of Micronesia, Nauru, Palau, Panama, and the United States. The vote marked a major milestone for the partially recognized state of Palestine and its citizens, and a diplomatic setback for Israel and the United States. As an observer state at the UN, Palestine gained the ability to join international treaties and specialized UN agencies, including the Law of the Sea Treaty and the International Criminal Court, ICC. The status also permits Palestine to assert legal rights over its territorial waters and airspace as a sovereign state recognized within the UN system, and enables the Palestinian people to pursue cases concerning sovereignty before the International Court of Justice. It further allows Palestine to bring charges of crimes against humanity and war crimes, such as unlawful occupation of Palestinian territory, before the ICC. In December 2014, the ICC recognized Palestine as a state, without prejudice to any future judicial determinations on questions of statehood. Following the adoption of the resolution, the UN authorized Palestine to designate its representative office as the Permanent Observer Mission of the State of Palestine to the United Nations, a move seen by many as reflecting the UN's de facto recognition of Palestinian sovereignty under international law. Palestine subsequently updated its official terminology on postal stamps, documents, and passports. Palestinian authorities also instructed their diplomats to officially represent the State of Palestine, rather than the Palestine National Authority. On December 17, 2012, the UN Chief of Protocol determined that the designation State of Palestine would be used by the Secretariat in all official UN documents. On September 26, 2013, at the UN General Assembly, Mahmoud Abbas was granted the right to sit in the beige chair reserved for heads of state awaiting their address to the Assembly. Renewed membership efforts and additional rights at the UN. Efforts to secure full UN membership were revived in 2024 during the Gaza War, prompting the UN Security Council to hold a vote on the issue in April. Although 12 members voted in favor and 2 abstained, the United States voted against the proposal, exercising its veto and preventing its adoption. On May 10, 2024, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution acknowledging that Palestine met the requirements for UN membership and requesting that the Security Council reconsider the matter. The resolution also granted Palestine additional rights at the United Nations, including the right to be seated among member states, the ability to introduce proposals and agenda items, and participation in committees. However, it did not confer voting rights. States whose recognition of Palestine is disputed. Name, date of recognition, diplomatic relations, relevant membership, and further details. Name, date of recognition, diplomatic relations, relevant membership, and further details. San Marino, September 23, 2025, no. Algeria, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, African Union, AU, OIC, Algeria, Palestine relations. Bahrain, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, GCC, OIC, Bahrain, Palestine relations. Indonesia, November 15, 1988, yes. ASEAN, BRICS, G20, OIC, Indonesia, Palestine relations. Iraq, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, OIC, Iraq, Palestine relations. Kuwait, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, GCC, OIC, Kuwait, Palestine relations. Libya, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC, Libya, Palestine relations. Malaysia, November 15, 1988, yes. ASEAN, OIC, Malaysia, Palestine relations. Mauritania, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC. Morocco, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC, Morocco, Palestine relations. Somalia, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC, Palestine, Somalia relations. Tunisia, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC, Palestine, Tunisia relations. Turkey, November 15, 1988, yes. G20, NATO, OIC, OTS, Palestine, Turkey relations. Yemen, November 15, 1988, yes. Arab League, OIC, Palestine, Yemen relations. Afghanistan, November 16, 1988, yes. IC, SARC, Afghanistan, Palestine relations. Bangladesh, November 16, 1988, yes. IC, SARC, Bangladesh, Palestine relations. Cuba, November 16, 1988, yes. Cuba, Palestine relations. Jordan, November 16, 1988, yes. Arab League, OIC, Jordan, Palestine relations. Madagascar, November 16, 1988, no. AU. Nicaragua, November 16, 1988, yes. Pakistan, November 16, 1988, yes. IC, SARC, Pakistan, Palestine relations. November 16, 1988, yes. Arab League, GCC, OIC, Palestine, Qatar relations. Saudi Arabia, November 16, 1988, yes. Arab League, G20, GCC, OIC, Palestine, Saudi Arabia relations. United Arab Emirates, November 16, 1988, yes. Arab League, BRICS, GCC, OIC, Palestine, United Arab Emirates relations. Serbia, November 16, 1988, yes. Palestine, Serbia relations. Zambia, November 16, 1988, yes. AU. Albania, November 17, 1988, yes. NATO, OIC, Albania, Palestine relations. Brunei, November 17, 1988, yes. ASEAN, OIC, Brunei, Palestine relations. Djibouti, November 17, 1988, yes. Arab League, AU, OIC, Djibouti, Palestine relations. Mauritius, November 17, 1988, yes. AU. Sudan, November 17, 1988. Yes, Arab League, AU, OIC. Palestine, Sudan relations. Cyprus, November 18, 1988. Yes, EU. Cyprus, Palestine relations. Czech Republic, disputed. November 18, 1988. Yes, EU, NATO. Slovakia, November 18, 1988. Yes, EU, NATO. Palestine, Slovakia relations. Egypt, November 18, 1988. Yes, Arab League, AU, BRICS, OIC. Egypt, Palestine relations. Gambia, November 18, 1988. Yes, EU, OIC. India, November 18, 1988. Yes, BRICS, G20, SARC. India, Palestine relations. Nigeria, November 18, 1988. Yes, EU, OIC. Nigeria, Palestine relations. Seychelles, November 18, 1988. Yes, AU. Sri Lanka, November 18, 1988. Yes, SARC. Palestine, Sri Lanka relations. Namibia, November 19, 1988. Yes, EU. Namibia, Palestine relations. Russia, November 19, 1988. Yes, BRICS, CSTO, G20, UNSC, permanent. Palestine, Russia relations. Belarus, November 19, 1988. Yes, CSTO, Belarus, Palestine relations. Ukraine, November 19, 1988. Yes, Palestine, Ukraine relations. Vietnam, November 19, 1988. Yes, ASEAN. Palestine, Vietnam relations. China, November 20, 1988. Yes, BRICS, G20, UNSC, permanent. China, Palestine relations. Burkina Faso, November 21, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Burkina Faso, Palestine relations. Comoros, November 21, 1988. Yes, Arab League, AU, OIC. Comoros, Palestine relations. Guinea, November 21, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Guinea-Bissau, November 21, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Cambodia, November 21, 1988. Yes, ASEAN. Mali, November 21, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Mongolia, November 22, 1988. Yes. Senegal, November 22, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Hungary, disputed. November 23, 1988. Yes, EU, NATO. Hungary, Palestine relations. Cape Verde, November 24, 1988. Yes, AU. North Korea, November 24, 1988. Yes, North Korea, Palestine relations. Niger, November 24, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Niger, November 24, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Romania, November 24, 1988. Yes, EU, NATO. Palestine, Romania relations. Tanzania, November 24, 1988. Yes, AU. Palestine, Tanzania relations. Bulgaria, November 25, 1988. Yes, EU, NATO. Bulgaria, Palestine relations. Maldives, November 28, 1988. Yes, IC, SARC. Maldives, Palestine relations. Ghana, November 29, 1988. Yes, EU. Ghana, Palestine relations. Togo, November 29, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. Zimbabwe, November 29, 1988. Yes, AU. Palestine, Zimbabwe relations. Chad, December 1, 1988. Yes, EU, OIC. Laos, December 2, 1988. Yes, ASEAN. Sierra Leone, December 3, 1988. Yes, UIC. Uganda, December 3, 1988. Yes, UIC. Republic of the Congo, December 5, 1988. Yes, AU. Angola, December 6, 1988. Yes, AU. Mozambique, December 8, 1988. Yes, UOIC. São Tomé and Príncipe, December 10, 1988. Yes, AU. Gabon, December 12, 1988. Yes, AU, OIC. On, December 13, 1988. Yes, Arab League, GCC, OIC. On, Palestine relations. Poland, December 14, 1988. Yes, NATO. Palestine, Poland relations. Democratic Republic of the Congo, December 18, 1988. No, AU. Botswana, December 19, 1988. Yes, AU. Nepal, December 19, 1988. No, SARC. Burundi, December 22, 1988. No, AU. Central African Republic, December 23, 1988. No, AU. Bhutan, December 25, 1988. No, SARC. Rwanda, January 2, 1989. No, AU. Ethiopia, February 4, 1989. Yes, BRICS. Ethiopia, Palestine relations. Iran, February 4, 1989. Yes, BRICS, OIC. Iran, Palestine relations. Benin, May 12, 1989. Yes, OIC. Kenya, May 12, 1989. Yes, EU. Kenya, Palestine relations. Equatorial Guinea, May 1989. Yes, EU. Vanuatu, August 21, 1989. Yes, PIF. Philippines, September 4, 1989. Yes, ASEAN. Palestine, Philippines relations. Eswatini, July 1, 1991. Yes, EU. Kazakhstan, April 6, 1992. Yes, CSTO, OIC, OTS. Kazakhstan, Palestine relations. Azerbaijan, April 15, 1992. Yes, IC, OTS. Azerbaijan, Palestine relations. Turkmenistan, April 17, 1992. Yes, OIC. Georgia, April 25, 1992. Yes, Georgia, Palestine relations. Bosnia and Herzegovina, May 27, 1992. Yes, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Palestine relations. Tajikistan, April 2, 1994. Yes, OIC. Uzbekistan, September 25, 1994. Yes, OIC, OTS. Papua New Guinea, disputed. October 4, 1994. Yes, PIF. South Africa, February 15, 1995. Yes, EU, BRICS, G20, Palestine, South Africa relations. Kyrgyzstan, November 1995. Yes, CSTO, OIC, OTS. Kyrgyzstan, Palestine relations. Malawi, October 23, 1998. Yes, AU. Timor-Leste, March 1, 2004. Yes, ASEAN. Paraguay, March 25, 2005. Yes, Mercosur, OAS. Montenegro, July 24, 2006. Yes, NATO. Montenegro, Palestine relations. Costa Rica, February 5, 2008. Yes, OAS. Lebanon, November 30, 2008. Yes, Arab League, OIC. Lebanon, Palestine relations. Ivory Coast, December 1, 2008. Yes, OIC. Venezuela, April 27, 2009. Yes, Palestine, Venezuela relations. Dominican Republic, July 15, 2009. Yes, OAS. Brazil, December 1, 2010. Yes, BRICS, G20, Mercosur, OAS. Brazil, Palestine relations. Argentina, December 6, 2010. Yes, G20, Mercosur, OAS. Argentina, Palestine relations. Bolivia, December 17, 2010. Yes, Mercosur, OAS. Bolivia, Palestine relations. Ecuador, December 24, 2010. Yes, OAS. Ecuador, Palestine relations. Chile, January 7, 2011. Yes, OAS. Chile, Palestine relations. Guyana, January 13, 2011. Yes, CARICOM, OAS, OIC. Peru, January 24, 2011. Yes, OAS. Palestine, Peru relations. Suriname, January 26, 2011, no, CARICOM, yes, OIC. Uruguay, March 15, 2011, yes. Mercosur, OAS. Palestine, Uruguay relations. Lesotho, May 3, 2011, yes, AU. South Sudan, July 14, 2011, yes, AU. Syria, July 18, 2011, yes, Arab League, OIC. Palestine, Syria relations. Liberia, July 19, 2011, no, AU. El Salvador, August 25, 2011, yes, OAS. El Salvador, Palestine relations. Honduras, August 26, 2011, yes, OAS. Honduras, Palestine relations. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, August 29, 2011, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Belize, September 9, 2011, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Dominica, September 19, 2011, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Antigua and Barbuda, September 22, 2011, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Grenada, September 25, 2011, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Iceland, December 15, 2011, yes, EFTA, NATO. Iceland, Palestine relations. Thailand, January 18, 2012, yes, ASEAN. Palestine, Thailand relations. Guatemala, April 9, 2013, no, OAS. Haiti, September 27, 2013, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Sweden, October 30, 2014, yes, EU, NATO. Palestine, Sweden relations. St. Lucia, September 14, 2015, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Colombia, August 3, 2018, yes, OAS. St. Kitts and Nevis, July 29, 2019, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Barbados, April 19, 2024, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Jamaica, April 22, 2024, no, CARICOM, OAS. Trinidad and Tobago, May 2, 2024, yes, CARICOM, OAS. Bahamas, May 7, 2024, no, CARICOM, OAS. Ireland, May 28, 2024, yes, EU. Ireland, Palestine relations. Norway, May 28, 2024, yes, EFD, NATO. Norway, Palestine relations. Spain, May 28, 2024, yes, EU, NATO. Palestine, Spain relations. Slovenia, June 4, 2024, yes, EU, NATO. Palestine, Slovenia relations. Armenia, June 21, 2024, yes, CSTO. Armenia, Palestine relations. Mexico, February 5, 2025, yes, G20, OAS. Mexico, Palestine relations. Canada, September 21, 2025, no, G7, G20, NATO, OAS. Canada, Palestine relations. Australia, September 21, 2025, no, G20, PIF. Australia, Palestine relations. United Kingdom, September 21, 2025, no, G7, G20, NATO, UNSC, permanent. Palestine, United Kingdom relations. Portugal, September 21, 2025, no, EU, NATO, Palestine, Portugal relations. France, September 22, 2025, no, EU, G7, G20, NATO, UNSC, permanent. France, Palestine relations. Monaco, September 22, 2025, no. Luxembourg, September 22, 2025, no, EU, NATO. Luxembourg, Palestine relations. Malta, September 22, 2025, no, EU. Malta, Palestine relations. Andorra, September 22, 2025, no. Non-UN member states. Name, Sahrawi Republic. Date of recognition, November 15, 1988. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant membership, further details. African Union, Palestine, Sahrawi Republic relations. Name, Holy See. Date of recognition, February 2013. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant membership, further details. Holy See, Palestine relations. States that do not recognize Palestine. UN member states. Austria. Austria conferred full diplomatic status on the PLO representation in Vienna on December 13, 1978, under then-Chancellor Bruno Kreisky. In June 2011, Foreign Minister Michael Spindelegger stated that Austria had not yet decided whether to support UN recognition of a Palestinian state and preferred to wait for a joint EU approach. He noted that a decision at the last moment might give the parties an opportunity to revive the Middle East peace process. Spindelegger also suggested that the EU draft its own version of the resolution. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, Austria, Palestine relations. Belgium. In May 2024, Foreign Minister Hadj al-Labib stated that recognition was not under discussion, while Prime Minister Alexander De Croo emphasized that recognition would be symbolic with no practical impact. In July 2025, Belgium stated it would determine its position on recognition in early September 2025. In August 2025, Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost urged Parliament to recognize Palestine as soon as possible, warning that delays would jeopardize credibility in the two-state solution. On September 1, 2025, he announced Belgium would recognize Palestinian statehood at the 2025 UN General Assembly, provided the last Israeli hostage is released and Hamas no longer governs Palestine. On September 22, 2025, Prime Minister Bart de Wever declared Belgium would not yet recognize Palestine de jure, reiterating conditions regarding Hamas. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Belgium, Palestine relations. Cameroon. Cameroon officially supports a two-state solution. Although a member of the OIC, President Paul Biya has developed strong ties with Israel since the mid-1980s, affecting the country's relations with Arab states. In August 2011, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu asked Biya to oppose the UN resolution admitting Palestine as a member state. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, UPIC. Croatia. Croatia formalized relations with the PLO on March 31, 2011. Former Prime Minister Jadranka Kosor supported coexistence of Israel and Palestine, but Croatia abstained during UN votes on Palestine's non-member observer status and UNESCO admission. Former Foreign Minister Vesna Pusic suggested Croatia would likely recognize Palestine soon. Croatia tends to favor Israel due to commitments to the US and EU. In June 2025, President Zoran Milanovic stated Croatia should recognize Palestine. On August 27, 2025, he declared he would push for recognition as soon as feasible and urged Parliament to start the process. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO. Denmark. Danish Foreign Minister Lena Espersen met Abbas in March 2011 to encourage negotiations with Israel and supported Palestinian development. During the 2011 election campaign, the largest opposition party favored recognition, but Espersen cautioned unilateral action and stressed EU coordination. A 2014 bill calling for recognition was rejected. In July 2025, Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen preferred recognition via negotiated solution or coordinated EU effort. In August 2025, Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen announced Denmark would not recognize Palestine at that time. On September 22, 2025, Rasmussen stated recognition would occur once conditions were met, including hostages released, Hamas disarmed, and governance reformed. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Denmark, Palestine relations. Eritrea. Eritrea is one of only two African countries that do not recognize Palestine, the other being Cameroon. In 2010, President Isaias Afwerki stated that Israel needs a government and Palestinians deserve dignity, but a two-state solution would not work, suggesting a potential Transjordan option. At the UN in 2011, Afwerki reaffirmed support for Palestinian self-determination and Israel's right to live in peace. Eritrea voted in favor of Palestine's non-member observer status in 2012. In September 2024 and January 2025, Eritrea emphasized Palestinians' right to self-determination and welcomed a ceasefire in Gaza. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, AU. Estonia. During a meeting with Riyad al-Malki in June 2010, Minister Amaz Pete expressed support for Palestinian self-determination and an agreement between the countries. Officials noted Estonia would not adopt a UN position until the final wording was released. On July 30, 2025, Prime Minister Kristen Michael emphasized Estonia has no plans to recognize Palestine. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO. Fiji. Fijian policy on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is largely based on UN resolutions. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Finland. Finland supports a two-state solution. In 2025, President Alexander Stubb expressed willingness to approve recognition if proposed. Prime Minister Petteri Orpo stated Finland was not preparing recognition, announcing conditions to be met before implementation. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Finland, Palestine relations. Germany. In April 2011, Chancellor Angela Merkel called the Palestinian recognition bid a unilateral step and stated Germany would not recognize Palestine without prior acceptance by Israel, emphasizing mutual recognition for a two-state solution. In August 2025, Chancellor Friedrich Merz said Germany would not recognize Palestine as requirements were unmet. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, G7, G20, NATO, Germany, Palestine relations. Greece. Historically supportive of Palestine, Greece maintained consular relations with Israel until 1990. Since George Papandreou, relations with Israel improved. In December 2015, Greek Parliament voted for recognition, and on September 7, 2025, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis declared Greece would recognize Palestinian statehood at the appropriate time. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Greece, Palestine relations. Israel, see above. Diplomatic relations, yes. Italy. In 2011, Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi pledged support to Israel and opposed unilateral recognition. Italy upgraded the Palestinian delegation to ambassadorial status. Italy voted for Palestine's non-member observer status in 2012 and supported UN resolutions on Jerusalem. In July 2025, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said Italy was not ready to recognize Palestine. In September 2025, Meloni stated recognition would occur once Israeli hostages were released and Hamas excluded from government. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, G7, G20, NATO. Japan. Japan supports a two-state solution. In 2007, a Justice Ministry official recognized Palestinian nationality. Japan rejects unilateral acts jeopardizing Palestine or annexation of East Jerusalem. Japan voted for Palestine's non-member observer status in 2012. In August 2024, Japan considered recognition. On July 30, 2025, Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwaya said Japan requires more time, reaffirming commitment to a two-state solution. On September 22, 2025, he stated recognition is a matter of when rather than if. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, G7, G20, Japan, Palestine relations. Kiribati. In September 2011, the Kiribati foreign minister expressed support for Palestine at the Pacific Islands Forum. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Latvia. Latvia supports a two-state solution and provides development assistance to Palestine. In July 2025, the Foreign Ministry stated no plans to recognize Palestine. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO. Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein relies on Switzerland for foreign affairs. In 2011, it co-sponsored a draft resolution supporting Palestinian self-determination and a sovereign state. In September 2025, Foreign Minister Sabine Monayouni stated Palestine meets statehood requirements. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, EFD. Lithuania. Lithuania supports a two-state solution. In 2011, Foreign Minister Audronius Azubalis called for a strong EU stance encouraging peace talks. In August 2025, a presidential advisor stated recognition is not on the agenda. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Lithuania, Palestine relations. Marshall Islands. A close voting ally of Israel, the Marshall Islands opposed motions supporting Palestinian statehood at the UN. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Federated States of Micronesia. FSM consistently supports Israel due to its U.S. association. FSM's solidarity with Palestine is constrained by agreements with the U.S., and Israeli development assistance remains influential. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Moldova. On May 27, 2024, Foreign Minister Mihai Popsoi reaffirmed support for a two-state solution but stated there is no internal consensus on recognition. Diplomatic relations, yes. Myanmar, one of only two Asian non-aligned movement members not recognizing Palestine, alongside Singapore. Former Foreign Minister Win Aung stated Myanmar supports a two-state solution. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, ASEAN. Nauru. In September 2011, Foreign Affairs Minister Kiran Kiki expressed solidarity with Palestinians and considered recognition in future cabinet meetings. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Netherlands. Supports a two-state solution, recognition contingent on negotiations. In August 2025, the foreign minister stated there are no plans to recognize Palestine at this time. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, EU, NATO, Netherlands, Palestine relations. New Zealand. Supports a two-state solution. Maintains tacit recognition policy. In early September 2011, the government refused pledges to vote with Israel on UN resolutions. In September 2025, Foreign Minister Winston Peters stated Palestine does not meet minimum statehood criteria. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, PIF, New Zealand, Palestine relations. North Macedonia has no political or diplomatic relations with Palestine. Former Foreign Minister Nikola Popovsky stated the country's position aligns with EU and strategic partners. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, NATO. Palau votes consistently with the US at the UN. Palau supported the US recognition of Jerusalem. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Panama has not indicated its position on Palestinian statehood. President Ricardo Martinelli has a record of supporting Israel, and Panama resisted regional pressure to recognize Palestine. In 2015, Foreign Minister Roberto Enriquez emphasized recognition should follow a full peace agreement with Israel. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, OAS. Samoa expressed support for a two-state solution in 2010. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. Singapore has not recognized Palestine but maintains a representative office in Ramallah. In July 2025, Singapore announced it is prepared in principle to recognize Palestine, provided it establishes competent governance, supports Israel's right to exist, and abandons terrorism. On September 22, 2025, Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan confirmed recognition would follow these conditions. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, ASEAN. Solomon Islands expressed support for Palestine in September 2011 at the Pacific Islands Forum. Diplomatic relations, no. Relevant memberships, PI. South Korea does not recognize Palestine but has a representative office in Ramallah. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships, G20, Palestine, South Korea relations. Switzerland does not recognize Palestine as an independent state but supported non-member observer status at the UN in 2014. President Simonetta Sommaruga supports a two-state solution. Diplomatic relations, yes. Relevant memberships: EFTA, Palestine, Switzerland relations. Tonga made efforts in 2011 to attain recognition from Tonga at the Pacific Islands Forum. Diplomatic relations: no. Relevant memberships: PI. Tuvalu, on September 10, 2015, voted against a UN resolution allowing Palestine's flag at the UN headquarters. Diplomatic relations: no. Relevant memberships: PI. United States. In September 2011, President Barack Obama opposed Palestine's UN recognition bid, stating peace must be reached by Israelis and Palestinians themselves. Presidents Donald Trump and Joe Biden maintained UNSC veto policy. In August 2025, Vice President J.D. Vance reaffirmed the U.S. would not recognize Palestine due to the lack of a functional government. Diplomatic relations: yes. Relevant memberships: G7, G20, NATO, OAS, UNSC, permanent. Palestine, United States relations. Non-UN member states. Kosovo does not recognize Palestine. Diplomatic relations: no. Sovereign Military Order of Malta maintains ambassador-level relations with the Palestinian Authority. Diplomatic relations: yes. Republic of China, Taiwan does not recognize Palestine. The government monitors developments and urges all parties to resolve differences through communication. On September 22, 2025, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs criticized a map released by the Permanent Observer Mission of Palestine showing Taiwan as recognized, implying it is part of China, and stated Taiwan has no immediate plan to recognize Palestine. MOFA highlighted the strategic partnership between China and Palestine, under which Palestine affirmed Taiwan as an inalienable part of China. Diplomatic relations: no. Relevant memberships: Palestine-Taiwan relations. The State of Palestine is a party to multiple multilateral treaties, registered with 5 different depositaries: the United Kingdom, UNESCO, the United Nations, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. Palestine's ratification of UNESCO conventions occurred in 2011 to 2012, following its admission as a member of UNESCO. The ratification of the remaining conventions took place in 2014, during a period when negotiations with Israel were at an impasse. Depositaries and treaty participation. Netherlands, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 1 treaty. Example: Convention respecting the laws and customs of war on land. First ratification/accession. April 2, 2014 Russia, 1 treaty. Example: Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. First ratification/accession. February 10, 2015 Switzerland, Federal Council, 7 treaties. Examples: Geneva Conventions and additional protocols. First ratification/accession. April 2, 2014 UNESCO, Director General, 8 treaties. Example: Convention concerning the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage. First ratification/accession. December 8, 2011 United Nations, Secretary General, more than 50 treaties. Examples: Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, Statute of the International Criminal Court. First ratification/accession. April 9, 2014 United Kingdom, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, 2 treaties. Examples: UNESCO Constitution, Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. First ratification/accession. November 23, 2011. On May 16, 2014, Israel informed the UN Secretary-General that it did not consider Palestine to meet the criteria for statehood and therefore viewed Palestine's request to accede to the UN Convention Against Torture as without legal validity and without effect upon Israel's treaty relations under the convention. The United States and Canada submitted similar objections. Palestine also participated in the negotiation of the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and voted in favor of its adoption on July 7, 2017. Palestine does not require the permission of Israel or the United States to exist. The Palestinian people have the right to their homeland, to sovereignty, and to self-determination. Israel must respect internationally recognized borders, withdraw from occupied Palestinian territories, and be held accountable for more than 7 decades of occupation, systemic apartheid, the ongoing violence, and genocide. The world cannot remain silent while justice and human rights are denied. Palestine exists, and its legitimacy cannot be undermined by external powers or political convenience. True peace will only come when justice is recognized, oppression ends, and Palestinians are granted the rights that have been denied to them for generations.